You know what's crazy? Right now, as you're watching this, your ego is probably lying to you about the people you love most. And the worst part, you have no idea it's even happening. I'm going to share something with you today that honestly changed the way I look at every single relationship in my life. And it comes from the brilliant mind of Alan Watts, a philosopher who understood human nature better than most therapists I've ever met. This isn't some feel-good advice or quick fix. This is about understanding something deep inside you that's been sabotaging your relationships for years, maybe even decades. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break down exactly how your ego operates in relationships, why it causes so much pain, and what Alan Watts taught us about breaking free from this pattern. And I promise you, by the end of this, you're going to see your partner, your kids, your parents, and even yourself in a completely different light. Let's get into it. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Most of us go through life thinking we're being genuine in our relationships. We think we're loving our partners authentically. We think we're connecting with our kids in meaningful ways. We think we're being real. But Alan Watts would tell you that's not what's actually happening. What's really happening is that your ego has taken over the driver's seat, and it's running the show without you even knowing it. Now, before you click away thinking this doesn't apply to you, just hear me out, because I thought the same thing. I thought I was different. I thought I had it figured out. And then I started paying attention to my own behavior. And wow, was I wrong. Think about the last argument you had with your partner. I mean, really think about it. What was it actually about? On the surface, maybe it was about dishes in the sink, or someone being late, or forgetting to do something they said they'd do. But if you dig deeper, what was really happening underneath all that? Your ego was feeling threatened. That's what was happening. Alan Watts talked about this constantly. He said that we create this image of ourselves, this identity, and then we spend all our energy defending it, protecting it, making sure everyone sees us the way we want to be seen. And when someone threatens that image, even accidentally, we attack, we defend, we shut down. And here's the thing that really gets me. We do this with the people we claim to love the most. Our partners, our kids, our parents, the people who should be able to see us as we truly are. We hide from them the most, because they're the ones who can hurt us the deepest. They're the ones who can shatter that carefully constructed image we've built. I see this all the time. A husband who refuses to admit he's wrong because his ego tells him that being wrong means he's weak. A wife who can't let go of control because her ego convinced her that if she's not in charge, everything will fall apart. Parents who can't apologize to their kids because their ego says that admitting a mistake means losing respect. Does any of this sound familiar? Let me break this down in a way that actually makes sense. Because when most people hear the word ego, they think of someone who's cocky or arrogant, someone who thinks they're better than everyone else. But that's not what Alan Watts meant when he talked about the ego. The ego is basically the story you tell yourself about who you are. It's the image you've created. It's the identity you've built up over years and years of experiences, beliefs, and ideas about yourself. You know that voice in your head, the one that's constantly commenting on everything, the one that says things like, "I can't believe they did that to me," or "I need to prove I'm right about this," or "If I don't do this, they won't respect me." That's your ego talking. And here's what makes it so tricky. The ego isn't some evil villain. It's not trying to destroy your life on purpose. It actually thinks it's protecting you. It thinks it's keeping you safe. It thinks it's helping you survive. Alan Watts explained this beautifully. He said that the ego is like a construction we've built to navigate the world. When you were a kid, you started learning things about yourself. You're good at this. You're bad at that. People like you when you do this. People reject you when you do that. And slowly, piece by piece, you built this identity. The problem is that this identity isn't actually you. It's just a character you're playing. It's a mask you're wearing. And the tragedy is that most people wear this mask for so long that they forget it's even there. They think the mask is their real face. Now here's where it gets interesting when it comes to relationships. When you meet someone, when you fall in love, when you start a family, your ego doesn't just disappear. In fact, it often gets stronger. Because now you have someone else who can validate your identity. Someone who can confirm that the story you're telling yourself is true. You want your partner to see you as strong, so your ego won't let you show weakness. You want your kids to see you as wise, so your ego won't let you admit when you don't know something. You want your parents to see you as successful, so your ego won't let you ask for help. And what happens? You end up in these relationships where nobody is actually being real with each other. Everyone's just performing. Everyone's just defending their image, and nobody's actually connecting. Alan Watts used to say that the ego is like a fortress. We build these walls around ourselves thinking we're creating safety, but all we're really doing is creating isolation. We're separating ourselves from the very people we're trying to be close to. Let me paint you a picture. You come home from work. You're tired. You had a rough day. Your partner says something that hits you the wrong way. Maybe they criticize something small. Maybe they forget to ask how your day was. Maybe they're just in a bad mood themselves. And what happens in your mind? Your ego immediately goes into defense mode. It starts building a case. They always do this. They never appreciate what I do. They're being unfair. They're being selfish. Notice what's happening there? Your ego just turns small moment into a major threat. Because to your ego, any criticism, any lack of validation, any sign that you might not be seen the way you want to be seen, that's dangerous. That's an attack. So what do? Maybe you snap back. Maybe you withdraw. Maybe you bring up something they did wrong last week. Maybe you shut down emotionally. And just like that, you're in a fight. Or worse, you're in that cold distance where you're both in the same house, but you're miles apart emotionally. Alan Watts would look at this situation and say, "Do you see what just happened? Two people who love each other just hurt each other, and it had nothing to do with love. It had everything to do with ego." Here's another way the ego sabotages relationships, and this one's subtle. Your ego needs to be right. It needs to win. It needs to prove itself. So even in small disagreements, you find yourself fighting to the death over things that don't actually matter. Your partner says the restaurant was on 5th Street. You're sure it was on 6th Street. And suddenly you're both arguing about it like it's the most important thing in the world. Why? Because your ego has decided that being wrong about this means something bigger. It means you're losing. It means your partner is superior. It means your identity as someone who's intelligent and reliable is being threatened. And the crazy thing is, while you're arguing about what street the restaurant was on, you're missing the actual moment. You're missing the chance to just be together. You're missing the connection. You're sacrificing the relationship on the altar of your egos need to be right. Or here's one that really hits home for parents. Your kid does something that embarrasses you in public. Maybe they throw a tantrum. Maybe they're rude to someone. Maybe they don't perform the way you expected them to at some event. And your ego immediately makes it about you. Your ego says, "Everyone's watching. Everyone's judging me as a parent. Everyone thinks I'm failing." So what do? You get angry at your kid. You punish them. You shame them. Not because of what they did, but because your ego felt threatened by how their behavior reflected on you. Alan Watts talked about this with parents all the time. He said so many parents are trying to live through their kids. They're trying to use their kids to validate their own ego, to prove they're good parents, to prove they're successful, to prove their life has meaning. But what does the kid experience? They experience a parent who doesn't actually see them. A parent who's more concerned with how things look than with what's actually happening. A parent who loves them conditionally, based on whether or not they're supporting the parent's ego. Here's another big one. The ego thrives on comparison. It's always measuring. It's always ranking. It's always trying to figure out where you stand relative to everyone else. So in your relationship, your ego is constantly comparing. Is your partner more successful than you? Do they get more attention than you? Do people like them more than you? Are they happier than you? And when the answer threatens your ego's position, watch what happens. You start competing with your own partner. You start undermining them in subtle ways. You start resenting their success. You start pointing out their flaws. You start keeping score. And all of this poison in your relationship, it's coming from your ego's need to maintain its position. Alan Watts would say this is insane. This is madness. You're supposed to be partners. You're supposed to be on the same team. But your ego has turned it into a competition where only one person can win. And the irony is that when you play that game, you both lose. The relationship loses. Here's something that's going to sound weird, but stay with me. You probably show your true self more to strangers than you do to your partner or your family. I know that sounds backwards, but think about it. When you're with a stranger, the stakes are low. If they don't like you, who cares? You'll never see them again. So sometimes you can relax. You can be more authentic. You can let your guard down a little. But with your partner, with your kids, with your parents, the stakes feel enormous. These are the people whose opinions matter. These are the people whose validation you crave. These are the people who can really hurt you. So your ego goes into overdrive. It puts on the biggest performance of all. Alan Watts called this the game of masks. And he said it's the source of so much pain in relationships. Because what you're doing is showing up as this carefully constructed character, this ego-driven version of yourself, and then wondering why you feel lonely, wondering why you don't feel truly seen, wondering why the connection feels shallow. Of course it feels that way. Nobody's actually connecting. You're just two masks bumping into each other. I see this with couples who've been together for years, even decades. They'll sit there and tell me they don't feel close anymore. They don't feel understood. They feel like roommates instead of partners. And when I dig deeper, what I find is that they stopped being real with each other years ago. Maybe they never were. They're both playing roles. The strong husband, the supportive wife, the successful career person, the devoted parent. Whatever role their ego decided they needed to play to be loved and accepted. And they're both exhausted from the performance, but neither one knows how to stop. Because they're terrified of what happens if they do. What if I show weakness and they lose respect for me? What if I admit I'm struggling and they see me as a failure? What if I'm vulnerable and they use it against me? These are the fears the ego plants in your mind. And Alan Watts would say, yes, those things might happen. But you know what definitely happens if you keep wearing the mask. You stay isolated. You stay disconnected. You stay lonely even though you're in a relationship. You miss out on the actual intimacy that's possible when two people are brave enough to show up as they really are. Here's what really gets me about this. Your partner probably wants to know the real you. Your kids definitely want to know the real you. But your ego won't let them in. Your ego has convinced you that the real you isn't good enough, that the real you is flawed and broken and unlovable. So you keep presenting this polished version, this ego-approved version, and then you feel sad that nobody really knows you. It's a trap. It's a cage that you're building for yourself. And the key to getting out is right there in your hand. But your ego keeps telling you not to use it. Now here's where it gets really complicated. It's not just your ego causing problems. Your partner has an ego too. Your kids have egos. Your parents have egos. And when all these egos get together in one relationship, in one family, it's like a battlefield. Alan Watts used to say that most arguments between people aren't really about what they're arguing about. They're about two egos fighting for dominance. Two identities trying to protect themselves. Two masks trying to prove they're real. Think about how arguments actually unfold. Someone says something. The other person's ego interprets it as an attack. So they respond defensively, which triggers the first person's ego, which makes them respond more aggressively. And back and forth it goes, escalating and escalating, until you're both saying things you don't mean, and hurting each other over something that didn't even matter in the first place. And here's the worst part. Both of you are convinced you're right. Both egos are absolutely certain they're the victim here. They're the one who's been wronged. They're the one who deserves an apology. So neither person backs down. Neither person softens. Neither person takes responsibility. And the relationship suffers. I see this dynamic a lot with parents and adult children. The parent's ego says, I raised you, I sacrificed for you. You should respect me and do what I say. The adult child's ego says, I'm my own person now. I don't need to follow your rules. You need to treat me as an equal. And neither ego can let go enough to see the other person's perspective. Neither ego can be vulnerable enough to say, I'm scared or I'm hurt or I just want to feel connected to you. So instead they fight about politics or life choices, or how often someone calls or visits. They fight about surface things while the real issue, the ego-driven need for validation and respect and recognition, stays buried underneath. Alan Watts would watch this and shake his head, because he understood that this is suffering. This is the human condition playing out in painful ways. We want connection so badly, but our egos keep building walls. We want love, but our egos keep demanding conditions. We want peace, but our egos keep starting wars. And the tragedy is that most people go through their entire lives without ever seeing this pattern. They keep blaming their partner. They keep thinking the problem is external. They keep waiting for other people to change. But the real problem, the ego, is inside them the whole time. Let me tell you about something Alan Watts talked about that explains so much relationship conflict. He called it the illusion of control. And here's how it plays out. Your ego wants control. It wants to control how people see you. It wants to control how situations unfold. It wants to control other people's behavior. Why? Because control means safety. Control means predictability. Control means your ego can maintain its carefully constructed identity without threats. So what happens in relationships? You start trying to control your partner. You start trying to control your kids. You don't think of it as control, of course. You think of it as helping, as guiding, as having standards, as wanting the best for them. But underneath all those nice-sounding justifications, your ego is trying to control them so you can feel safe. Maybe you try to control how your partner spends their time, or how they dress, or who their friends are, or how they express themselves. And you've got all these reasons why your way is better. Your way is smarter. Your way is safer. But really, your ego just can't handle the uncertainty of letting them be who they are. Or with kids, oh man, this is huge. Your ego wants your kids to turn out a certain way, to make certain choices, to follow a certain path. Because if they do, it proves something about you. It validates your identity as a good parent. It makes your life choices seem right. But Alan Watts would say, what are you actually doing here? You're treating another human being like an extension of yourself, like a project, like something you can mold and shape to fit your ego's needs. And you're completely missing the fact that they're their own person with their own path. And here's the kicker. The more you try to control, the more resistance you create. Your partner pulls away. Your kids rebel. The very thing you're trying to hold on to slips through your fingers. Because nobody wants to be controlled. Nobody wants to be someone else's ego prop. Alan Watts understood that life is inherently uncontrollable. Relationships are uncontrollable. Other people are uncontrollable. And trying to control them is not only futile, it's the source of enormous suffering. For you and for them. The ego can't accept this. The ego thinks that if it just tries hard enough, plans well enough, manages things carefully enough, it can control outcomes. It can make life safe and predictable. But it can't. And the more energy you pour into this impossible task, the more exhausted you become and the more damaged your relationships get. So here's where we get to the solution part. And I'm not going to lie to you, this isn't easy. But it's simple. Alan Watts taught that the key to better relationships is letting go of the ego. Not destroying it. Not fighting it. Just seeing it for what it is and not letting it run your life. He'd say that the first step is just noticing. Start paying attention to when your ego is operating. When you feel defensive, that's ego. When you need to be right, that's ego. When you're comparing yourself to your partner, that's ego. When you can't apologize, that's ego. When you're trying to control something, that's ego. Just notice it. Don't judge it. Don't feel bad about it. Just see it. Oh, there's my ego again, trying to protect me. Like you're watching a character in a movie. That little bit of distance, that little bit of awareness, that's huge. Because once you can see your ego operating, you have a choice. You don't have to obey it. You don't have to do what it's telling you to do. You can pause. You can take a breath. You can ask yourself, what would happen if I didn't listen to my ego right now? What would happen if I just let this go? Alan Watts talked about this as getting out of your own way. He said most of our problems in life come from our interference. from our ego trying to force things, from our identity needing to prove itself. And when you stop interfering, when you stop forcing, when you stop performing, something amazing happens. You become present. You become real. You become available for actual connection. Think about those moments in your relationship when you felt truly close to your partner. I bet your ego wasn't running the show in those moments. I bet you weren't trying to prove anything or defend anything or control anything. You were just there, just present, just open. That's what Alan Watts was pointing to. That state of being where you're not trapped in your ego's drama, where you're not performing or protecting or positioning, where you're just experiencing the moment as it is, with the person as they are. And here's what's wild. When you show up that way, it gives your partner permission to show up that way too. When you drop your mask, they can drop theirs. When you stop defending, they can stop attacking. When you get vulnerable, they can get vulnerable. It creates this space for real intimacy to happen. Let me get practical here, because I know some of you are thinking, okay, this all sounds great in theory, but what do I actually do differently tomorrow? Start small. The next time you're about to have a conversation with your partner, especially one that might be difficult, pause first. Take a second and ask yourself, what does my ego want from this conversation? Does it want to be right? Does it want to win? Does it want sympathy? Does it want to punish them? Does it want to prove something? Just notice what your ego is hungry for, and then ask yourself, what do I actually want from this conversation? What does the real me beneath the ego want? Maybe you want connection. Maybe you want understanding. Maybe you want to resolve something together. Maybe you just want to feel close to this person you love. Those are two different things, right? What your ego wants and what you actually want. And when you can see the difference, you can make a choice about which one you're going to follow. Here's another practice Alan Watts would love. When your partner does something that triggers you, instead of immediately reacting, get curious. Ask yourself, why is this bothering me so much? What part of my identity feels threatened right now? Maybe they criticize your cooking, and your ego has decided that being a good cook is part of your identity. So any criticism feels like an attack on who you are. Maybe they forgot something important, and your ego has decided this means they don't care, which threatens your identity as someone who's loved and valued. When you can see what your ego is reacting to, the charge often disappears. You realize, oh, this isn't actually about the burnt chicken or the forgotten anniversary. This is about my ego needing validation. And then you can respond to the actual situation instead of your ego's interpretation of it. Here's a big one. Practice apologizing without defending yourself. This is hard. This is so hard because your ego hates apologizing. Your ego sees apologizing as admitting weakness or defeat or wrongness. But Alan Watts would tell you that a real apology, a clean apology, is one of the most powerful things you can do in a relationship. Not I'm sorry but you. Not I'm sorry you feel that way. Not I'm sorry if I. Just I'm sorry. I messed up. That was wrong of me. I hurt you and I regret it. No explanation. No justification. No defense. Just taking responsibility. And watch what happens when you do this. Watch how it shifts the energy. Watch how your partner softens. Watch how it opens up space for real conversation instead of ego battles. Another practice. Let your partner be right sometimes, even when you're not sure they are. I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying agree with things you don't believe. I'm saying that sometimes your ego is fighting over things that don't matter. Sometimes being right isn't worth the cost to the relationship. Your partner says the movie started at 7, and you're pretty sure it started at 7:15. Does it matter? Does winning that argument bring you closer? Does proving you're right make your relationship better? Or can you just let go and say, you might be right about that? Alan Watts would say this is wisdom. This is choosing the relationship over the ego. This is seeing what actually matters and what doesn't. Let me spend some time on this, because if you're a parent, this is probably where your ego is most active, and you don't even know it. Your kids are not you. I know you know that intellectually, but does your ego know it? Because your ego looks at your kids and sees an extension of itself, sees a reflection, sees something that can either validate its identity or threaten it. When your kid succeeds, your ego puffs up. Look at my kid. That reflects well on me. When your kid struggles, your ego panics. This reflects badly on me. This threatens my identity as a good parent. Alan Watts would say this is a terrible burden to put on a child, to make them responsible for your ego's needs, to make them live their life in service of your identity. Here's what it looks like practically. Your kid wants to pursue something you don't understand or approve of. Maybe they want to study art when you wanted them to be a doctor. Maybe they want to take a gap year when you think they should go straight to college. Maybe they dress differently than you'd like, or have friends you're not sure about. Your ego immediately starts panicking. This isn't what I planned. This threatens my vision of who they should be. This makes me look like I've lost control. What will people think? And so you push. You control. You criticize. You guilt trip. You manipulate. All in the name of love. All because you tell yourself you're doing what's best for them. But really, you're just trying to protect your ego's investment in who you think they should be. Alan Watts would tell you to stop, to really look at what you're doing, to ask yourself, am I responding to my child's actual needs right now, or am I responding to my ego's fears? Because here's the truth. Your kids need you to see them, really see them, not see your projection of them, not see your hopes for them, not see your fears about them, but see who they actually are. And you can't do that when your ego is in the way. The healthiest thing you can do as a parent is work on your own ego, deal with your own stuff, process your own fears and insecurities, so that when you interact with your kids, you're coming from a place of genuine love and care, not ego-driven control. That means letting them make choices you wouldn't make, letting them face consequences, letting them be different from you, letting them disappoint you without withdrawing your love, letting them see you being perfect and human and flawed. This is hard. This goes against every instinct your ego has. But Alan Watts would tell you this is the path to a real relationship with your kids. A relationship based on who they actually are and who you actually are, not on the roles your egos insist you play. Here's something nobody talks about. When you start doing this work, when you start seeing your ego and not being controlled by it, your relationships might get harder before they get easier. Why? Because the people in your life are used to your ego. They're used to the patterns. They're used to the dance. And when you change your steps, it throws them off. It might even threaten their ego. Your partner might not know what to do when you stop fighting back, when you admit you're wrong, when you get vulnerable. They might even escalate because their ego is trying to get you back into the familiar pattern. Or they might get suspicious. Why are you being so nice? What do you want? What are you trying to prove? Because your ego changing is threatening to their ego. It disrupts the whole system. Alan Watts would say, stay the course. Don't expect other people to change just because you're changing. Don't make your growth conditional on their response. Just keep doing your work. Keep seeing your ego. Keep choosing connection over protection. And here's what often happens. Over time, your consistency creates safety. Your realness invites realness. Your vulnerability makes space for vulnerability. And slowly, sometimes very slowly, the relationship starts to shift. The other person starts to trust that this isn't a trick, that you're really showing up differently, and they begin to relax their own ego defenses. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes the other person isn't ready or willing or able to meet you in that place. And that's hard. That's really hard, because you're changing and growing, and they're staying stuck in the same ego patterns. Alan Watts would tell you that you can't force someone else's awakening. You can't make someone see their ego if they're not ready. All you can do is keep working on yourself, keep being real, keep offering connection, and accept that they might not be able to receive it right now. This doesn't mean you have to stay in a relationship that's harmful. It doesn't mean you have to tolerate abuse or toxicity. Setting boundaries is actually part of ego work, part of seeing clearly and responding to reality instead of your ego stories. But it does mean letting go of trying to control other people's journey, letting go of needing them to validate your growth, letting go of using your spiritual development as another way your ego can feel superior. Here's something Alan Watts understood deeply. The relationship you have with other people is a mirror of the relationship you have with yourself. And that relationship, the one with yourself, is also run by ego. Think about how you talk to yourself. Think about that voice in your head that's constantly judging, criticizing, demanding, pushing. That's your ego. And if that's how you treat yourself, of course, that's going to spill over into how you treat others. If your ego won't let you be imperfect, you won't let your partner be imperfect. If your ego is constantly criticizing you, you'll constantly criticize your partner. If your ego demands perfection from you, you'll demand perfection from your kids. Alan Watts taught that self-acceptance is crucial. And I don't mean that in a cheesy, self-help kind of way. I mean really accepting yourself, with all your flaws, with all your mistakes, with all the ways you don't measure up to your ego's expectations. When you can look at yourself and say, yeah, I'm messy and complicated and I mess up sometimes, and that's okay. That's human. Something shifts. You stop needing to prove yourself. You stop needing to defend yourself. You stop needing to be right all the time. And then you can extend that same acceptance to the people around you. You can let them be messy. You can let them be complicated. You can let them mess up without it being a catastrophe. This is what Alan Watts meant by getting out of your own way. When you're not constantly fighting yourself, when you're not constantly trying to be someone you're not, you have so much more energy available for actual living, for actual loving, for actual connecting. So where does all this lead? What's on the other side of ego work? Alan Watts would tell you it's freedom. Not freedom from relationships or responsibilities, but freedom within them. Freedom to be yourself. Freedom to love without conditions. Freedom to connect without fear. When you're not enslaved to your ego's demands, you can show up in your relationships in a completely different way. You can be present without an agenda. You can listen without defending. You can love without keeping score. You can let your partner have a bad day without making it about you. You can let your kids struggle without seeing it as your failure. You can disagree without it becoming a battle. You can be wrong without it destroying your sense of self. This doesn't mean you become a pushover. It doesn't mean you have no boundaries or standards or values. It actually means the opposite. When you're not operating from ego, your boundaries are clearer. Your values are more genuine. Your standards come from wisdom instead of fear. And your relationships become places where both people can grow, where both people can be real, where both people can struggle and succeed and change and evolve without having to perform or pretend. Alan Watts called this living in the present moment. And it sounds simple, but it's actually profound. Because when you're not trapped in your ego stories about the past or fears about the future, you're just here, with this person, in this moment. And that's where real connection happens. That's where love happens. Not ego love. Not conditional love. Not performance-based love. But the kind of love that sees another person clearly and accepts them as they are. The kind of love that doesn't need anything, doesn't demand anything, just is. So how do you actually live this? How do you make this real in your daily life? You practice. That's it. You practice noticing your ego. You practice choosing differently. You practice getting real. And you do it again and again and again. Some days you'll be great at it. You'll catch your ego in the act, and you'll laugh and let it go. You'll have moments of real connection with your partner that take your breath away. You'll be present with your kids in a way that feels magical. Other days you'll forget everything you know. Your ego will take over, and you'll fall right back into old patterns. You'll say things you regret. You'll react instead of respond. You'll choose protection over connection. And that's okay. That's part of being human. Alan Watts would tell you not to judge yourself for it. Not to let your ego turn this into another thing you're failing at. Just notice it. Learn from it. Begin again. Talk to your partner about this stuff. Tell them you're working on your ego. Tell them you're trying to show up differently. Ask them to be patient with you. Ask them to point out when you're being defensive or controlling or performing. Make it a team effort instead of a solo journey. And be patient with the process. This is the work of a lifetime. Your ego has been running your life for decades. It's not going to step aside overnight. But every moment of awareness helps. Every choice to be real instead of right helps. Every time you choose connection over ego protection, you're changing the pattern. The goal isn't perfection. The goal isn't to eliminate your ego completely. The goal is just to see it, to not be controlled by it, to have more moments where you're free from its demands, more moments where you're actually present with the people you love. Because those moments, those are everything. Those are what you'll remember at the end of your life. Not whether you won arguments, not whether you maintained your image, not whether you protected your ego, but whether you really connected, whether you really loved, whether you really showed up as yourself. That's what Alan Watts was trying to teach us. That's the invitation, to step out of the ego's prison and into the freedom of authentic relationship with your partner, with your kids, with yourself. It's not easy, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. And the beautiful thing is, you can start right now, right this moment. The next time you interact with someone you love, you can make a different choice. You can notice your ego and choose connection instead. You can be real instead of right. You can be present instead of performing. That's where the magic is. That's where real love lies. Not in the ego's fortress, but in the open space of genuine human connection. Subscribe for more insights on conscious living.